you. Chase or fade, Murray's making the right decision here.
Well, I guess I'm going to be biased if you call me a baseball guy, but baseball, you're going to get paid more. You have guaranteed contracts. You don't get concussions very often. There's just a million reasons why you play baseball. Just take it from Bo Jackson. If anyone's an expert in this, it's Bo Jackson, and he completely regrets playing football. He said he should have never played football. He should have played baseball.
Great. Good stuff as always from Pierce. What do you think, Reed?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more millions of reasons why to play football. Like Pierce is right. The safety precautions and just the overall longevity of your career is going to be with baseball. But clearly this guy is leveraging his ability against both organizations, both professional associations, to really get more money and to get paid before something potentially happens. And if you go first round, like if the rumors are true and he goes in the first round, he's guaranteed around that $5 to $6 million contract per year that we've seen guys like Baker get. Is he as good as these guys yet? Remains to be seen, obviously, because he hasn't played an NFL down, but he just wants to get more money. And if he goes in that first round, he's going to get paid. And so a lot of these GMs are saying that he might be second, third day guy. If the rumors are true, I would go all in. And you can always play baseball later if your NFL career in the first 2 to 3 years doesn't really pan out.
Jeff,
I'll let the bow.
Jeff, you think he's just playing with the A's here, just toying with them?
Yeah, he doesn't want to play baseball. He wants to play baseball these days. By the way, if you choose baseball, Kyler Murray, have fun riding the bus for 4 years. Do you know how many minor league games Mike Trout played? It's over 250. That's how they develop baseball players. You don't jump into the pros right away. No rookie baseball players do that. Sorry. If he goes to the NFL, he's going to start right away. He's going to be making money. He's going to be in the limelight. And also, football season's like 4 months, 5 months long. You got to play baseball like every day of the year if you go to the MLB. No one wants to do that.
Scorching hot take.
I mean, yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
Bus rides versus a life full of concussions. What are we talking about?
It's about concussions.
Like Field of Dreams that are riding the bus. I like that. Well, also, too, if you look at the rule changes, too, for quarterbacks and the offense in general, right? It's making it a lot safer. Like, the biggest knock on a guy like Kyler Murray is his size. But, I mean, you can't really hit the quarterback anymore, and you can't hit these receivers across the middle. The offense is now becoming these RPOs and a more college-style type offense that caters towards a guy like Kyler Murray. He's a tiny guy. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But the way that it's changed now, past the Deion Sanders era, past the Bo Jackson era, which you could just essentially hit anyone, anywhere. You can't do that to quarterbacks anymore.
Yeah, well, bus rides or,
Pierce,
the alternative. Yeah. All right, guys, let's look ahead to the weekend.
Bus rides. It's a lot of quality time with good friends.
Yeah, I don't think you've been on as many bus rides as those guys are going to have to be on. All right, let's look ahead to the weekend, guys. The Rams are underdogs for the first time all season. They're plus 3.5 against New Orleans. So, Jeff, chase or fade that the Rams cover?
I'm going to chase if they cover. Give me the Rams this week to win outright. Look, everyone's going to point to that last meeting. The Rams just got off to a horrible start in that game, and then Jared Goff tore them apart and almost won it. Now they have C.J. Anderson, who's like the Pac-Man to the ski mask wearing running backs on the Saints. They're going to get eaten up. And then you have Aqib Talib is back too for their defense. So this is a bit of a different situation. I think the Rams are coming in here underdogs. I think it's a good scenario for them. Sean McVay got the monkey off his back. The playoff win, he's only played 2 playoff games. But, no, I really like the +3. If you're going to give me any points with the Rams, I'm going to take it.
Pierce, chase or fade that they cover? What do you think?
Yeah, I'll chase it. And just like Jeff, give me the money line on this one. And the Rams are going to win this one outright. And you can throw out that first matchup. I wouldn't worry about it. You look at the Saints last week, you can kind of compare them to the Eagles in the fact that we didn't really think that the Eagles deserved to be playing last week, that they barely got past the Bears. Well, you look at the Saints, and if they don't convert 2 fourth downs and Alshon Jeffrey doesn't drop an easy pass, they may not advance. They needed all those things to go their way. They didn't look very good. I don't think they have much of a home field advantage. Meanwhile, the Rams were moving the ball at will. I think they're going in a better direction.
Just say it, Pierce. They were rusty. Okay, just say it. Get it out of the way.
He's got the synonym book out. He's looking for another word for rusty. Reed, where are you going on this one? I saw you shaking your head when Jeff was talking. It looked like you were agreeing with him.
Oh.
Yeah, give me that Greyhound bus ticket right next to Jeff and Pierce here. I agree with these guys. I thought I was going to be – that was a bad joke. I thought I was going to be in the minority with taking the money line on the Rams, but these guys are absolutely true, especially the Saints, too. If you look at what they've done over the past few games after that Philly game where they just put up 40-plus points, they haven't been scoring a lot. And that could be, obviously with their run game, getting a lot better. Their defense playing a lot better, but still 19 to 22 points per game. If we take out that week 17 where they just rested all of your starters, they're not really scoring, and they're not able to move that ball like they're used to, or like they're used to be doing. And that Philly secondary really got torched. That's not something that we really rest our hat on to see against a Rams team that has really changed our dynamic. And McVay has shown that he can change his game plan at will. And to take the top 5 ranked defense in Dallas and just shred them to pieces. So, yeah, I agree with these guys.
Well, this divisional round was not friendly to overs, and by not friendly, I mean just one hit. Now the total for the Rams Saints is set at 57. So, Pierce, chase or fade, this game will go under 57 combined points.
I'm going to fade that. That's a massive number for a conference championship game. And you look at the Saints last week, well, both of these teams, they have explosive players, but they're not really explosive teams. They both want to run the ball. They both had success running the ball, and they're going to continue to run the ball and run the clock. And in the Saints offense last week, they were not hitting big plays. Sure, they hit a couple long passes, but it was 1st and 20, 2nd and 20. The Eagles are playing really soft defense in those situations. They were checking down to Michael Thomas on dink and dunk passes. If they do that again, they'll move the ball, but they will not score a lot of points.
What do you think here, Reed? Because, Pierce makes a good point. Saints didn't look like their normal explosive selves.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for that 11-minute drive or some penalties, that's really what the Saints want to do. They want to control the clock. They want to play good defense, and they want to utilize both of their running backs to really make sure that that score doesn't go up as high. Like Drew Brees can throw over 300 yards at will, but that's not really what they want to do. We've seen Sean Payton. We've seen the Saints historically, especially in the playoffs. They want to run the ball, control the clock. So especially with these defenses playing better, right, not letting that score, and especially in the playoffs, you're going to want to make sure every possession counts. So I'm with Pierce. I'm going to say under.
Jeff, you want to go over?
I'm going to go over. I know everything says they want to run the ball, but look, what did the Rams do? They shut down the run last week, and quite frankly, the Saints have a really good run defense. I think the Rams are going to come out, try and jump on top like the Eagles. I think it's going to force the Saints into more passing. So it's not really something I want to bet on, to be honest, the total, because Pierce is right. It's a conference championship. I feel like this game could go so many different ways, but I would take the over if I'm forced to bet this one.
Okay, guys, we're going to wrap here because we're going to save this.
We're going to save
other
the
game
AFC
for
championship
AFC for tomorrow.
Yep.
So please take a break, but get ready to talk quarterbacks later in the show. Now, Emerson and I are going to talk hockey with the slate breaker himself after we check in with Pat Mayo.
He's talking golf.
One and done picks of the week. I went with Justin Thomas. He did not win, so I've blown Justin Thomas for the year. You went with Leish's pieces.
Yeah.
Mark Leishman. Cust went with Hideki Matsuyama. You won. I came second. Cust came in third.
I'm going to fire this bullet. I'm going to go with John Rahm. In my Gups Corner one and dones last week, I double-barreled Leishman, which I don't know.
I used Casey. You missed the cut.
I don't want that to be my strategy, so I'm going to go with Rahm, and I'm going to use one of those guys I'm betting on in that 30 to 60 range with my other team. But for us, me versus you, and it will also be an official one and done pick in the corner, Gups, Rahm, throwing that hammer.
So as a part of the rules between us, I can't use the player that you are using that week.
And the guy who did better the week before gets to pick
first. So those are the rules. And then Cuss just makes his pick.
And
follow him on Twitter at TimAnderson87 to find out who is cursed for the week.
Why would you have used John Rahm here?
No, I mean I'm thinking about using him for my other team, but this was kind of thrown out to me just a little bit that so some people were complaining like, oh, you wasted Justin Thomas. And I thought as it turns out, I did waste Justin Thomas. Like if John Rahm doesn't win this week, you have now wasted John Rahm because it's $5.9 million as the purse. It's one of the lowest of the year. However, we don't think that Rose is going to be good just based on lack of activity, new irons, whatever. He's Instagramming too much.
That's me.
Sure, but like Rahm, if you just take Justin Rose out of the mix and you just Rose is a really intriguing one and done this week. I'm not going to have the guts to use him, but no one will use him.
What do you mean DraftKings? I guess people expect him to hang around.
Nah, even on DraftKings, he'll be the least popular of the top three. But with Rahm, in these weaker field tournaments, because we're about to get 10 tournaments in a row where almost everybody, you're going to have 10 studs every single week to divvy it up. The reason I went with Justin Thomas last week is because he had the best odds to win by a substantial margin last week. At least in my mind, by the betting odds, he was at least a 5-point to 6-point favorite over Bryson DeChambeau. The stats pointed in his direction. He had lined up all year. And the sort of comment that I made was, if Justin Thomas wins the Sony Open, it is better than him coming third at the U.S. Open.
Yeah, of course.
And I get my pick of the litter against him. Now, he didn't win, so it's a stupid pick, and I've burned him. But that was the logic behind it. I think the same logic applies to John Rahm this week, because you have such a good player in a place where he's won before. I know he's the defending champion, and it's hard to win back-to-back years anywhere. It's hard to win any tournament. That I just think that it is a savvy move to use Rahm this week. That if you, a lot of people did it last year, and it worked out for them. You only it's like when everyone used Hideki that year when he won in Phoenix. Everyone used him. And then everyone went back to the well last year and he withdrew. Well, what's the right move? Do you use Hideki or don't you use Hideki? It's tough to say. So I'm not going to be using Rahm. I'll consider him for my second team. I'll use Hudson Swafford.
All right, if you're paying attention, then you likely know there are 6 games around the NHL tonight. If you have not been paying attention, that's okay too, because that's what we are here for. That's why we have DK Live's Ben Wyman here as well. Good evening, big boy. How are you? I don't see you. There you are.
Oh, we can't hear you.
Can't hear you, partner. Can't hear you. But you certainly look great.
But I'll ask the question and then... there we go.
I'm here.
Here he is. All right.
I'm back. I took a week off. Let's do this.
All right, let's get right into it and get your favorite picks for tonight's Tiers contest. Sound good? Good. Because you really don't have a choice here. So 4 players in Tier 1, Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, who is questionable, Patrice Bergeron, and Patrick Kane. Who do you like the most, and anyone you'd absolutely not take?
Yeah, I mean, I like Patrick Kane a lot in the Tiers format tonight. You got McKinnon, McDavid, Patrice Bergeron in Tier 1, so I think Kane's ownership will be down a little bit. He's in a great spot against the Devils. The Devils are 26th in goals allowed this season. The Blackhawks have just been playing in great game environments. 5 goals in each of their past 9 games, so that's not them scoring, but a total goal. So obviously, if you're targeting that game, you're going to see a lot of goals. So yeah, Kane makes sense in that tier. So yeah, he's riding a 5-game point streak. So looking to make it 6 tonight. Great ceiling play. So yeah, I'm going with Kaner.
Tier 2 gives us Austin Matthews, Alex Ovechkin, David Pastrnak, John Tavares. Who's the best of this bunch?
Yeah, I really like Austin Matthews in this tier. He has a really good matchup at home against the Avalanche. Coach Mike Babcock said that he's going to match up the John Tavares line with Nathan McKinnon tonight. So I think Matthews will be in a really good spot to get a good weaker comp. He seems like a sleeping giant too. 3 goals in his past 10 games. The Avs have one of the worst penalty kills in the league, 28th overall. The Leafs have 13 power play goals in 23 home games this season, which is a decent clip. They sort of differentiated their power plays a little bit, but I don't know if that'll affect Matthews too much. I think this is a good ceiling spot for him tonight.
Hey, real quick, is there anyone you would definitely steer clear of in that tier?
Who is in there again?
I'll give it to you. No, Austin Matthews, Ovechkin, Pastrnak, Tavares. Is there a guy like you definitely should not?
Maybe Ovechkin as sort of a. I think he'll probably be higher owned in there. The Blues on the road. But the Capitals really haven't been scoring too much, so I kind of like Jake Allen tonight in that.
All right. How about Tier 3? Who do you like the most from Tier 3?
I'm not crazy about this pick, but I'm going to go with Zach Parise. The Wild really haven't been playing well. They're on the road against the Flyers. The Flyers have been allowing a ton of goals lately, 24 in their past 7 games in January. Parise is familiar with the Flyers with his time in New Jersey. He's got 39 points in 45 career games against Philly. 20 of those are goals. Yeah, I mean, Brad Marchand, Mitch Marner, you got both the Avs' first line wingers are in this tier. So I think a lot of lineups will be on Brad Marchand, Mitch Marner. So you're going to be able to get Zach Parise on low ownership in a pretty good spot as well.
Yeah, wait, why aren't you crazy about that? You were like, I'm not crazy about this. But then you described a pretty good situation for him.
The Wild haven't been scoring. They haven't really been great. They're sort of enigmatic. So I think that's why it makes sense to go with Parise. He's more of a GPP play.
Okay, got it.
I also got it now. Which player do you like most from tiers 4 through 8? There's so many. I'm just not going to read them all to you. So hopefully you did your homework.
Yeah, let's go with Blake Coleman in tier 5. New Jersey Devils. He's in a great spot. The Devils are at home against the Hawks. I mentioned before, great game environment for the Blackhawks. They've been allowing a lot of goals. They've been playing up in pace. There should be a lot of shots on goal in this game. The Blackhawks are allowing a ton of shots on goal. I don't mind this as a game stack. I think you have 3 other Hawks and Devils players in that tier 5. I think Coleman will be lower owned than the other ones. I think Taves, Hischer are the other 2, DeBrincat. But yeah, I like Coleman. He's on a 3-game point streak. He's skating more ice time with Taylor Hall out, really picking up the slack there. He's not on the first power play, but he's got on the second power play, so you get a little bit of exposure there. And again, I think he'll be lower owned in this tier 5.
All right, finally, your favorite part of the program. Who's your slate approved pick? Woo!
I'm all over Jeff Skinner of the Buffalo Sabres tonight. In Classic, he's 6,300. He's the second leading goal scorer in the NHL, 30 goals, right behind Ovechkin. He's in a good spot against the Oilers on the road. His price is down. He's probably going to be chalk in tier 4. So I guess maybe you might want to differentiate your lineup a little bit, but I think he's guaranteed. I think he's going to score a goal tonight. It seems pretty obvious, so I'm going to go with Skinner.
All right, good stuff, Benny Z. We appreciate you. Enjoy your evening. Garion and Jeff return for some NBA over/under after Brendan Glasheen previews tonight's slate around the NBA.
NBA slate presented by Manny Pacquiao versus Adrian Broner. Two of boxing's biggest stars on one explosive fight. Saturday, January 19th, live on pay-per-view. DK Live's Greg Ehrenberg is here to help us with the 6-game slate in the association. Greg, who are you paying up for tonight?
Yeah, it's James Harden. It's just always James Harden right now. His role is just huge for the Houston Rockets right now. Eric Gordon's out, Chris Paul's out. They have nobody else to shoot. They have nobody else to handle the ball. He's at least 57 DK points in every game since December 13th. So until he slows down or the wheels fall off, I can't see myself not rostering James Harden.
Who is emerging as your value pick?
Both Kyrie Irving and Marcus Smart are out tonight. So one guy I think worth looking at is Jaylen Brown. He's probably going to start in place of Marcus Smart, and there's just good value in him. He's struggled a little bit this year compared to last year. With a bigger role tonight, he should be able to succeed. We saw something similar from him a couple weeks ago, and he scored 33 DK fantasy points.
All right, and last but not least, your slate-approved pick, please.
Yeah, it's Terry Rozier at point guard. He's going to start in place of Kyrie Irving. And Rozier, whenever he starts, we see big games from him. He's averaging over 30 DK points as a starter, and he's going to be the highest-owned player on the slate, but for good reason. There's almost no chance that he could fail in this spot.
All right, thank you, Greg. Once again, Manny Pacquiao versus Adrian Broner is this Saturday, January 19th, live on pay-per-view.
Alrighty, people, back here in the DraftKings studios, formerly known as The Kitchen. You are watching The Sweat, and it's time now for some NBA over-under. We're peeping projected totals for this evening. If you wanted some player-specific information, recommendations from these two, go ahead and rewind the show.
Yeah,
Go back to the start of the show. There are some people we're talking about on Facebook. Just trying to satisfy everybody.
Just roll it back, people. All right, welcome back to DK Live's Garion Thorne and DFS expert Jeff Eisenband. So, gentlemen, the Pelicans and Clippers are projected to have a great quantity of points scored. The over-under is set at 241. So are you willing to take the over here, Jeff? Nope, we can't hear you.
Yep, try it one more time.
Try it again.
Good now.
Yeah.
I love overs, but I don't in this case. 241 is just way too much. Even in this game, even with these two teams that score, all it takes is one team to pull too far ahead and, for those last seconds to matter. I just don't see this game going over 241.
Garion?
Yeah, like Jeff said, from a narrative perspective, you just need one thing to go wrong. And I know when you're just sitting on your couch thinking about this, yes, the Clippers are terrible at defense. Yes, the Pelicans are terrible at defense. Yes, the Pelicans have been one of the best offensive teams in basketball across the last 10 games. But, I went through it. The Clippers have actually allowed 120 points to their opponent 14 different times this season. It seems like a lot, but still. Even in those 14 opportunities to go over a number like this, only 7 of those games actually went over 241 points. It's just way too much.
Well, the Grizzlies and Rockets have the lowest total on the slate here, guys, just 207. So how close to a lock is the over, Garion?
Pretty close. I'm going to take the over here. I know a lot of people are going to focus on this from the perspective that Memphis is a slow-paced team and they're a good defensive team, but actually their defense hasn't been so hot on the road where this game is taking place this evening. They've allowed over 111 points per 100 possessions over their last 8 road games. Honestly, the thing that worries me most about this game isn't even the Clint Capella injury. It's the fact that Memphis's offense has been just awful over their last 5 games. They're averaging less than 100 points per 100 possessions. So that might be the downfall here, but I wouldn't get too caught up in like the Grizzlies' pace or the Grizzlies' defense. It's the Grizzlies' offense that could sink this thing.
All right, what say you, Jeffrey?
I'm going well over, and I'm saying that because, yes, the Memphis Grizzlies play a slow pace. They're a great defensive team, but they don't dictate the pace of play when they're playing against the Houston Rockets. James Harden dictates the pace of play when he plays an NBA game. I mean, when you look about James Harden himself, will probably be scoring about 20 to 25% of those points. So I go over here.
All right, guys, the Celtics and Nets total is set at 218.5. Are you going over or under here, Jeff?
I'm going under. The Celtics, traditionally play a more defensive style, and they're without Kyrie Irving. The Nets, who were scoring high earlier in the season, have slowed things down a bit. These two teams played just a week or two ago and were under this total. They've both been playing pretty low-scoring games, so I'm going under here.
Garion?
I'm actually going to take the over. I've been kind of having a nice time playing Celtics overs lately, and the numbers bear it out. 19 of their past 26 games have gone over the number. It just seems like books set those lines pretty low because, as Jeff said, they are a defensive first team. And also, this isn't last year's Celtics with Kyrie Irving off the court. Last year, they were only averaging 104 points per 100 possessions with Kyrie off. It's around 111 this season. Like, it's 117 when he's playing. He's a very, very good player, but they've got better secondary pieces this season. Brooklyn's playing at a high pace. I don't think this will go way over, but I do think it'll go over.
The Blazers and Kings have another high total. We're talking 227.5. You going over or under that mark, Garion, and why?
I'm going to go under. The Blazers have been playing some really nice defense lately. I mentioned this when we were talking about Willie Cauley-Stein in the first segment, but they have the second best defensive rating in the Western Conference across the last 10 games. 14 of their last 21 games have gone under the number. I know we tie a lot up into the Kings' pace, and that's great, but sort of in the way that those numbers skew low for Boston, they tend to skew high for Sacramento, and their last 4 games haven't gotten to the numbers. So a lot of trends dictating that this game's going to go under the number.
Jeff?
I'm going over, and this is a hard disagreement. I knew Garion was going to go under because of what he said about the Blazers defense in the last segment. I also need to admit something. I love Sacramento Kings basketball. I love watching the 2018 and 19 Sacramento Kings play. They do play that fast pace. I think De'Aaron Fox is for real. I think the Blazers actually, I like Damian Lillard from a fantasy perspective in this game because I think he's going to run it with De'Aaron Fox, and I just think this game's going over for that reason.
Well, the first step is admitting you have a problem. All right, guys, Hornets and Spurs line is set at 223. Do you like the over or under, Jeff?
I like the under here. I've been saying that the Spurs, this isn't your old Spurs. This is a much more offensive-minded team, but at the same time, when they need to play defense, they do. I don't think both these teams are around the middle in terms of scoring. I think the Spurs need to grind this one out, so I'm going under.
Gary, and who are you taking on this one?
I'm going to go over in this game, actually. The Hornets have gone over the number in 9 of their last 11 road games. And some of the numbers really back this up. I mean, their defense on the road has given up 7.2 more points per 100 possessions this season, their defense at home. And the Spurs are averaging 119.8 points per game in their last 8 games at home. So I just think this goes over the number. I think the Spurs have been playing incredibly good offense. Just right, they have a great defense too, but I do think we can get there tonight.
Well, finally, we have the Pistons and Jazz projected to be a low-scoring game, just 208.5. What makes you feel good here, the over or the under, Garion?
Nothing really makes me feel good about this game. I'm not going to lie to you. I would much rather watch the Kings than watch this game. I'll be perfectly honest. I'm going to take the over just because this is a low number. It's 2019. 208 is a low number for a basketball game. I know that the Pistons are a little banged up too. The Jazz are banged up. I get it, but I think we can get over this number.
Jeff, you are having a great hair day, by the way.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Also, it's now my mission to make people enjoy Kings basketball. I'm going over here, and I know Garion's been hard on the Jazz in terms of their health right now, but Donovan Mitchell and Blake Griffin are 2 of the hottest offensive players in the league. So for me to set this at 208 just doesn't seem right. I'm going over.
Alrighty, we're going to have you guys back for one more block, talking showdown picks. Once we finish up with our NFL guys, talking championship game quarterbacks, who's hot, who's cold, after this. Hey, I'm Taryn Azak, and with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. Well, the conference title games for the 2018 NFL playoffs are set in the defending Super Bowl champs. The Philadelphia Eagles did not make the cut. They will now start to look at 2019, and the high priority question that comes into play is, what will happen to Nick Foles? After the tough divisional loss to the New Orleans Saints, Foles was asked if this is the end of his stint in Philly. Foles said in part, it's a really unique situation, something that honestly, I need time to just step back. The ball is in the Eagles' court right now. They have had the right to extend his contract through the 2019 season at the price of $20 million, which would be fully guaranteed. If they do this, they could then decide to keep him or trade him. Or Foles could decide to void the contract and test free agency. Philly could also decline the option and place the franchise tag on him, potentially with the intent to trade him. The market for Foles is expected to be big. The Jags, Bucks, Dolphins, Giants, Redskins, Broncos, and Bengals could all be interested in adding a veteran QB. If Foles is in a different uniform next season, it will certainly put the pressure on Carson Wentz to show that he was the right QB to hang on to.
All right, back to it. The NFL's Conference Championship weekend is here. Some damn good quarterbacks taking the field on Sunday. And speaking of quarterback, we actually have Reed Fowler here, former signal caller for his high school team in Hawaii. Don't ask him about his biggest performance in a single game. He won't tell you. Pierce and Jeff are tagging along for this one as well.
Sounds like you
6 touchdowns.
Yeah.
6 touchdowns.
No, dude, we were seriously asking. He's like, oh, I remember my biggest game as a high school basketball player, 28 points. Couldn't remember a single stat from any game when he was the quarterback on the high school team.
That's what happens, Emerson, when you throw so many touchdowns, you can't remember.
Yeah, exactly. Jeff hitting the nail on the head.
Get out of here,
all right, guys, it's NFL hot or cold. So are the following quarterbacks more likely to produce fantasy points above or below expectations this weekend? I don't see Reed's name on this list, but Drew Brees had the best fantasy performance of the 4 advancing quarterbacks this past weekend. He had 22 DK points. He's priced at $5,900 when the Saints host the Rams in the NFC Championship. So do you expect him to play above or below expectations this weekend? QB1 Reed.
Look, I fashioned my game a lot like Drew Brees now. Yeah, like expectation being what, right? The Rams give up about 18 to 20 DK fantasy points over the regular season. And if we see what he did last time these two teams met, he went for 30 plus. I think that gets him right around 20. But look, with Drew Brees, especially around this number, right? Having a team that he has in the Rams, he hasn't done exactly that well. Look, these games that these spreads have been around 3 points have been away for the Saints. And we know that Drew Brees' home road splits are, essentially night and day. But I just don't think that Brees has to do it. I think you are going to try and rely on that run game. And the Saints have the 5th highest first half or 5th highest average points in the first half. I think they have to start out early here. So in terms of above expectation, I have them around that 20 to 25 DK fantasy points, which again is still pretty good when you look at this, look at a division game and this conference championship game. But in terms of where he was last time in that 30 plus, I don't think he gets there.
Jeff, what do you think?
I don't mind Drew Brees. I like the quarterback on the other side better. But the problem with Brees is that the Saints don't have a ton of red zone weapons. They have Michael Thomas, and I think it was Pierce who alluded to this earlier. They have Michael Thomas, and then it's like a bunch of shrimps playing wide receiver, not really like a real tight end. And so they run the ball a lot in the red zone. That's why they bring in Taysom Hill. So his touchdown expectation to me, it's just not as good as Jared Goff's, who has a lot of other different weapons to throw to. I don't mind him. I do like him. I think he's going to have a big game. I think the volume's going to have to be there because I think they might actually be behind in this game at the end, but I like Goff better.
Pierce, wrap us up here. What's Brees going to do?
Well, it's an honor to be here with the star quarterback of Polk High. But, I don't know, 22 points sounds just about right. I don't see a lot of touchdowns. Of course, this game could turn into a shootout, but we said that last week, and it didn't happen because they have the running backs, and they're playing a better defense this week. The Saints, although they'll call some crazy plays, they're pretty conservative for the most part. They're not this high-powered, crazy play offense. They run fake punts. They run 2 quarterbacks at the same time. They go for it on 4th down. But they're not really – I mean, Mike Thomas is a good receiver, but he's not an explosive 40-yard threat. don't see 3-4 touchdowns, and so 22 is about right. I would rather go with the AFC.
Well, we will make our way to the AFC here shortly. Let's go to the guy, though, Jeff likes more in this game. Jared Goff will be on the other side of this NFC Championship. He was a total fantasy dud, really, on Saturday with less than 9 DK points to his name against the Cowboys, but the Rams also ran the crap out of the football, so he really wasn't asked to do much. $5,400 on Sunday. You like his chances to bounce back and have a great game here, Jeff? Or are they going to rely on the running game again?
I absolutely do. I think he's may be my top quarterback on this slate. We'll get into some weather concerns soon here too. But look, the Saints gave up the fewest rushing yards in the league. You can't rush on the Saints. I mean, teams have not been able to do it all year long. And I know the Rams have 2 really good running backs. I just don't think that's going to happen. And I think Sean McVay knows that. Jared Goff had a great game against them last week, the last time they met. Nick Foles was doing well too until the Saints just took the air out of that entire game and basically made him sit for 15 minutes. I think Goff is going to come out hot in this game. And I think he's going to have to win the game for the Rams. I think he can do it. I think the game sets up just the offense, the way these teams match up. I just think that Jared Goff is going to have a big fantasy day.
Pierce, is Goff your favorite quarterback on this slate as well?
He's not my favorite, but in this game, he definitely is. If this thing shoots out, I would much rather have Goff. And like Jeff said, I don't see the Rams having this success on the ground against the Saints. They have a very strong run defense. It's much easier to pass on the Saints, and we saw that in the first matchup when the Rams matched up against the Saints. And this is a big game. You're going to want Todd Gurley on the field all the time. You're not going to want C.J. Anderson out there. It was nice last week. He had a great game. I would not take that risk again. Leave Todd Gurley out there. He's healthy. Don't play around. Don't even let this thing be close if you can help it.
Reed, do you think Goff outperforms Drew Brees in this one like these two do?
Yeah, I think he has a chance to, but what these guys are saying, to Pierce's point, if you look at what the Rams are able to do, 51% of Goff's pass attempts are on play action, so they really need to establish run here. And now they have a running back in C.J. Anderson who really, right, in terms of free agent signings, especially right now, is really looking like a good one, especially a guy who got cut by 3 teams this season so far. So I do like Brees a little bit better just because in terms of what Goff has to do for this team to win. I don't think they need him to go out and perform extremely well. I think they're able now to establish that run and that defense now with everyone healthy and Ndamukong Suh playing, above his skis or over his skis more so than he was this regular season. I think really now that they have an identity where they can control that clock with this running game, and especially if they're able to keep Todd Gurley healthy and they have a guy like C.J. Anderson, I don't see Goff necessarily having to do much in this contest.
Guys, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs blew out the Colts, but Mahomes didn't have a great fantasy performance. Just 18 DK points. He is the priciest quarterback this week, $6,600 against New England. So is he going to go off this weekend and put up big numbers, or is he going to be below his average again, Pierce?
Well, I think Jeff's going to drop a weather bomb on us. But the last I heard, it was just going to be cold, and it was cold last week, and their offense looked fine. The game script just didn't work out for him in terms of fantasy. They got out really fast, and they had some success on the ground running the ball. I expect this game to shoot out, and they're going to have to stay on the throttle the whole time. One downside is Andy Reid doesn't have 2 weeks to come up with cute plays for Tyreek Hill. And that might actually be good because you have to throw the ball to Tyreek Hill instead of reverses that go for 40 yards when really that play had no business going past the line of scrimmage. But I like Mahomes. He's going to have a much better week this week, fantasy-wise. Meteorologist Jeff Ulrich.
Look, I still like Patrick Mahomes in this game. It was cold last week, right? And he was fine. And the thing is, I mean, Pierce is right. It's not going to be super windy. It's just going to be really cold. It's going to be my weather cold. Like it's 15 degrees Fahrenheit. So I don't know what that is in Celsius. I think it's like -9. But that's the type of weather. That's the type of cold where it does start to affect things. And I think you're going to see that more with the Patriots offense just because of the style of game they run. But I think Mahomes is going to be fine. I think the Chiefs might win this game big, quite frankly. I don't mind him. I'd worry more about the Patriots. I guess that's the thing I'm trying to say. I'd much rather take a shot with Jared Goff or Drew Brees because I think they're more capable of shooting out in the dome. But I think Mahomes and the Chiefs are going to be fine. Maybe you won't see like 40 points, but I do think they're going to win this game big.
Reed, what do you think? What's going to happen with Mahomes against New England?
I will say that the Chiefs, out of the remaining teams, are the one that really hasn't changed their identity, right? They're really that team that passes quite a bit and really passes quite a bit and really relies on Patrick Mahomes and their skill players. But if you're the Patriots, you're not going to let Tyreek Hill, you're not going to let Travis Kelce, again, as much as possible, beat you. And really with Patrick Mahomes doing well, the highest corollaries of his success are these chunk plays. Now, he can make anything out of nothing. So you like that aspect in terms to get to this point. I do agree with Jeff, though, that this game is going to be a shootout. I don't think the Chiefs really run away with this. I think this is a lot closer. We can always talk ad nauseum about how bad the Patriots have been on the road, but let's not mistake. This is the Patriots, and this is the exact type of game that they want to come into and essentially say they have no chance, right? And Tom Brady said it. If you want to kind of go into narrative straight here, Tom Brady said everyone thinks they suck, and that's exactly what he and Belichick want. Going back to Mahomes, though, I don't think he needs to. We saw it last week. I don't think he needs to have a big game for these guys to win. And it's as much as we don't like it in our industry, he doesn't need a big fantasy outing. So I really would rather play Tom Brady in this matchup. I don't think Mahomes is going to. I don't think Mahomes is going to absolutely put up a dud. But I do like Tom Brady's chances at his price tag to outperform in terms of ROI.
Just for the record, I don't think this is going to be a shootout. I think this is going to be a blowout for the Chiefs.
Ooh, really? Wow. Okay, mark the tape.
You also said the Colts were going to win last week.
Exactly.
Jeff doesn't remember that. Next
no,
question.
No. Yeah, he thought
Emerson, take it away.
Tevin Coleman was going to have a great game. Yes, below zero temperatures. That's what we will see on Sunday. But Reed, real quick, I mean, you're talking about you'd rather play Tom Brady. He had one of the best games of his season on Sunday. 77% of his passes he completed, 343 yards, 1 touchdown, north of 20 DK points. So do you see him being a boom or a bust? It sounds like you're on the boom side of things.
Yeah, I mean, look, in terms of what they want to do, or the Patriots, again, want to control the clock, and they've got more of this power run game with Sony Michel, but that's really not going to happen. You're not going to necessarily be able to do that if we think that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are going to run up the score, which I think they have to, or if they want to, they can. They have the full capability of doing so, especially with their speed and their skill players. Tom Brady is going to have to pass. This team has to pass. The defense potentially is not going to be able to keep up with those speed guys. And so in terms of ROI, look, Patrick Mahomes right now this season is a better quarterback than Tom Brady. But this is the Patriots in the playoffs. They're going to have to pass this. They're not necessarily going to be able to control the clock as much as they want to with Sony Michel. I do like James White. I like some of these skill players. And so, yeah, I'd like Tom Brady right now, his ROI at his price tag, a little bit more than Mahomes.
Jeff, based off your previous comments, thinking this thing's going to be a blowout, you're thinking Tom Brady, then it's just going to be a bust in this game.
Look, the Chiefs' run defense played really well last week. The Chiefs also have one of the best pass rushes, if not the best pass rush in the league. Tom Brady, it's going to be -9 Celsius, like Canadian weather. Tom Brady's 41. He's not going to be able to throw downfield in that. Like this hurts Brady way more than it hurts Mahomes, in my opinion. I think this is a really bad situation for the Patriots. Brady's been terrible on the road too. We need to start talking about that. So I think everything is against the Patriots here. I don't care if it fits their narrative, whatever. I just don't like the spot for Tom Brady at all. I think it's going to be a bust for him.
Pierce, do you like this spot for Tom Brady?
Yeah, dude, you can set your watch to 340 yards and 2 touchdowns for Tom Brady in the playoffs. He does it every single playoff game. And the matchup doesn't worry me. Kansas City does not have a strong defense. They have a terrible red zone defense. And I know they play well against the Colts, but the Colts are playing their 3rd road game in a row. It was time for them to get worn out, and that's what showed. You saw the first half, the Colts were just worn out. They didn't have it. And I know the Kansas City has a good pass rush, but you know who else has a good pass rush? Los Angeles Chargers. Sorry about that. It didn't really bother them. They moved the ball downfield. The only issue you run into with Brady is that they have a million running backs, and they're going to get in the red zone, and they could run the ball into the end zone a million times, and he doesn't get the passing touchdowns. The Chiefs, I think, allowed the 5th most rushing touchdowns this year. That would be my only concern about Tom Brady, is that the running backs get all the points, like we saw last.
All right. That'll do, fellas.
See you guys.
Until tomorrow. But for all of you at home, we're helping you with NBA Showdown picks next.
DraftKings Fantasy Flash. Okay, listen carefully. Per BetDSI, for the first time in 68 Tom Brady starts, the Patriots are underdogs heading into a football game that includes the playoffs. I guess everyone does think you suck, Tom. Pats are getting 3 points as they head into their 8th straight AFC Championship game Sunday at the Chiefs. New England has won 3 of the last 5 meetings versus Kansas City, but when you include the spread, KC's edged the Pats 3 times. Only 1 of those 5 matchups has been at Arrowhead Stadium, the last 5. The Chiefs win 88.9% of their games there. The average winning margin is 15 points. And one other note about Arrowhead, games there average 49.7 total points. The AFC title game over-under currently set at 57.5. Those are the initial numbers. Safe to say it'll be an angry, motivated Brady this Sunday night. We'll have more on this juicy matchup as the week unfolds.
Final block of the show, and we're happy to have Gary and Jeff on board with us once again. This time, talking showdown picks for tonight's contest between the Pistons and Jazz and the Pelicans and Clippers.
All right, which one of these 2 showdowns do you like more tonight, Gary?
Well, I mean, one game has an over-under of 241.
Yes.
One game has an over-under of 208.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I don't think fun when I think Pistons basketball. I'm sorry. No, I'm much more excited to watch Anthony Davis go up against a pretty fun Clippers team.
Hell yeah, Jeff, you got to be on board with that.
Yeah, he's right. I mean, I think Garion's been a little tough on the Jazz and Pistons. You got 4. I'll tell you that the game obviously is more exciting, that Clippers game. Give the Jazz and Pistons credit from a fantasy perspective. There's really 4 guys to choose from as a captain. So at least I'll give them that. But yes, the Clipper game is more exciting. Clippers, Pelicans.
Okay, now who would you captain in the Pistons-Jazz matchup, Jeff? Like, is Blake Griffin worth $16,800?
Yeah, I'm going with Blake Griffin. Like I mentioned, though, Donovan Mitchell, Andre Drummond, Rudy Gobert, there are a lot of options here. I just think Gobert and Drummond are going to cancel each other out. I'm a big, when it comes to showdown captain mode, just take the best player, making your captain. That's your sure thing. I think that Blake Griffin will have the most points, and he's only 300 more than Donovan Mitchell, so I don't feel bad splurging for that.
Garion?
Yeah, I think one of those 2 guys. I'm going to lean towards Mitchell, and I did in the first segment too. I just think his implied field goal total in this game, the fact his potential assists have been high, and like Jeff said, you look at the construct of these 2 teams, the Jazz have been shutting down opponents in the restricted area so far this season, and while teams have shot well against the Pistons in the restricted area, they've only taken 26 field goal attempts per game. That's among the 5 lowest in all of basketball. So it's a better spot to take some exterior players than focus on the interior guys.
All right, Gary, and I know how much you love this game, so where can people find value?
I think there's a couple interesting places to find some value. Maybe the most interesting one is Grayson Allen, who 1 game back from an ankle injury. I think a lot of people are going to be trying to go here, but maybe some people haven't realized he's back. But again, there's so many gaps in this rotation right now for the Jazz. Like, people aren't even talking about the fact that like Cephalosha isn't playing. Like he's a guy who takes 20, 25 minutes a game on most nights. So Grayson Allen played, I think it was 14 minutes in their game on the 12th. That could be like 16, 17 tonight. So Allen's a really interesting guy at 1-2.
All right, in this Pistons-Jazz matchup, where can people find value, Jeff?
We're just doubling down on Grayson Allen here. We're going 2,700, 14 minutes last game, 10.25 points. The Jazz literally don't have a point guard. No Exum, no Neto, no Ricky Rubio. Someone has to handle the ball. We are all in on the $2,700 Grayson Allen tonight.
All right, now, who would you captain in the Pelicans-Clippers matchup, Jeff? And is it possible to captain Anthony Davis at 18.9? Jeez. Wow.
It's a little more. I'm going with Anthony Davis. It's a little harder than that Blake Griffin pick because of those prices. But I just look at this game, Anthony Davis, by far the most sure thing. Someone could talk me into a Tobias Harris or a Drew Holiday. You can make the argument, but I just go sure thing for captain Anthony Davis.
Gary, and you're nodding there.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 things to look at here in terms of like sureness. One, he's Anthony Davis. It's one of the most sure things. Well, I guess he doesn't stay healthy all that often. It's kind of one of the most sure things in basketball. If he plays
for tonight.
Yeah, for tonight, exactly. If he plays 38 minutes, he's going to dominate. This matchup is fantastic for him. I talked about how he's my #1 target in the first segment. But the other thing to look at here is you need a certain level of floor when it comes to having a captain. generally floor plus ceiling, but there has to be some level of floor. And the rotation for the Clippers is so diverse and so deep. I mean, they only have 2 guys averaging more than 30 minutes played per game. It's just hard to find someone you really, really, really trust and captain them on the Clippers side of the ball. So that makes Anthony Davis even more valuable.
All right, well, how about some value in this game? Garion?
Milos Teodosic, I guess, at the extreme end of the spectrum. He's played double-digit minutes in 4 straight. He's the minimum price, just $1,000. So if you are paying for someone like Davis and need to save in one of those 5 other slots, Teodosic could do that for you. Just hope he makes a couple of shots. I think one guy I'm really interested in, and somebody I've been playing in a lot of classic mode the last couple games, is Elfrid Payton. Payton actually leads the team in potential assists since he's come back from his injury. And like I said, since he's been back in the lineup, these 6 games, they're averaging over 122 points per 100 possessions. It seems like he has something to do with that. So he's playing about 30 minutes a game, 30 minutes during a game with a total of 241. I'll take that every time.
Go ahead, Jeff. Seem a little uneasy about that.
I don't love Elfrid Payton, and I'm channeling my inner Dickie V tonight and going with the Dukies. Frank Jackson, 3,900, coming out of nowhere, really. 10 DFS points in each of his last 4, 20-plus in 2 of his last 3. I think he actually splits time a little bit with Elfrid Payton, and I think we see actually more Frank Jackson minutes off the bench. Elfrid Payton's not old. He's only been in the league, like 5 years? But Frank Jackson, rookie, they're giving him his shot. I think we're going to see a lot more of him.
All right, guys, need your slate-approved pick of the entire slate. Jeff, who are you going with?
Garion's going to kill me for this one. Damian Lillard, because I think the Kings run. I think we're in the Bay Area. Damian Lillard, it's a good game to go with him. The Blazers are usually defensive. I don't think they are tonight.
Wow. Garion, do you hate him for that pick, and who's yours?
I don't think he hates me.
No, I don't. I'm Canadian. I'm incapable of hate. Actually, I'll make a slate-approved pick for the Showdown contest. I really like Jay Crowder tonight. He's priced just below Royce O'Neal, and everyone's going to play Royce O'Neal at 6'6". He's 6'2". He's missed 21 of his last 24 shots. If he just shoots like he can, he's going to be a great value tonight in a huge variance play. So I like Jay Crowder a lot.
Guys,
great Jay Crowder stat.
Real quick, Kemba Walker, this is a question on YouTube here, dudes. Kemba Walker stinks. They're going to get blown out. The Hornets will. Again, does that mean Tony Parker back to San Antonio? Will Tony Parker shine tonight? Narrative Street. Go ahead, Garion.
I was going to say, there's a lot of statement before we got to that question. I'm not buying it. But look, if you really want, I'll say this. Tony Parker, generally speaking, is only viable as a variance play. And you'd have to think this is going to be the most popular Tony Parker night on the slate that we get this season. So I probably don't want a piece of that.
Jeff, he's going to be a little emotional. You expect him to go off?
With that said, I think the Hornets do a little of the right thing and let him play maybe a couple extra minutes tonight just because he's back in San Antonio.
Okay.
Hey, Garion, really quick. Nene going to start in place of Capella. Do you like him at 3,100?
Sorry, what was the name?
Nene.
Nene Hilario.
Oh, Nene? I can see Nene kind of getting like the 6 minutes at the top of the first and the 6 minutes at the top of the third. I don't think he plays massive minutes in this game, so not really.
Yeah, Jeff, he hasn't played north of 15 minutes more than 4 times this season. What do you think?
Something's going to have to give, but I'm still just disappointed that the Knicks traded him for Antonio McDyess 18 years ago.
Wow, 18 years. Been holding on to that one for a while.
Yes, he has.
No, we're not bitter in New York about anything basketball related.
No, not at all. Not at all. All right, that's a show. This has been
Later,
The
guys.
Sweat. I'm Jessie. He's Emerson. We'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Our experts will be back. You definitely want to tune in. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, TK Live app. We'll see you then.
Let's go.